Let's look at the tight end rankings here, and we'll start with the top 10. You already brought up, Matthew, Sam LaPorta sits at the top, big change in the fantasy landscape after seeing Travis Kelce there for so long, who comes in at number 2. No surprise at 3, Mark Andrews. Trey McBride with a big-time breakout season in year 2. He comes in at number 4. Evan Ingram at number 5, resurgent Evan Ingram since arriving in Doug Peterson's offense in Jacksonville. Dalton Kincaid, who was quietly very good in his rookie season for the Bills, at 6. Kyle Pitts at 7, just when we thought we were out, we get pulled back in. 8, George Kittle. 9, Jake Ferguson. And 10, David Njoku. I think it's more interesting to start with the breakout here, Matthew, and Trey McBride all the way at number 4, and hopefully a full season of Kyler Murray.
Well, and that's the key here. You think about Week 10, right? That's when Kyler Murray returned. Weeks 10 through 18, Trey McBride was the 3rd best tight end in fantasy on a points per game basis. He had at least a 20% target share in every single game that Kyler Murray started. And now 2nd year, back with a full, healthy Kyler Murray, not as much defensive attention thanks to the addition of Marvin Harrison Jr. But again, it's Marvin Harrison Jr., Michael Wilson, Greg Dortch, Trey McBride's going to be, the second most important. He'll be the number 2 passing option in that air attack. And we think Kyler Murray is a pretty good quarterback. So I don't know. I just feel like McBride, friend of the podcast, Trey McBride, by the way, is somebody that should improve upon last year in a big way. Just having a full year of Kyler.
Jay, can you buy back in on Kyle Pitts this year?
Been hurt by Kyle Pitts a
Kirk
lot
Cousins
over the journey.
In town, Arthur Smith out of town.
Exactly. That's the key. Arthur Smith out, Kirk Cousins in.
To me, the bigger thing with Pitts, and obviously that helps a lot, but is he just physically not the same guy anymore, Connor? Because he just doesn't look the same.
No, I just think the lateral movement's been disappointing. I know he can run vertical and outrun linebackers, but you just wonder if he can become more of a possession player, not relying on big plays, and we're going to see if Cousins can get that out of him.
Cousins has traditionally liked using his tight end. You go back to all the way from Washington to Minnesota. So the tight end just in general, right?
McVay coaching tree,
right?
With Zach Robinson there. So
exactly.
That
so
matters.
so I feel like that, and so what's weird is for his career he's got a 20% target share, which since he entered the NFL, that's 6th best among NFL tight ends. It's weird. He gets looks, right? He's had such brutal quarterback play.
Yeah.
They're going to be in scoring position more often under Kirk Cousins. It's going to be a better quarterback room as well. So he's going to get better targets, more targets on target. They're going to be in red zone more where he is a weapon and a mismatch for there. So, I have him at 7. I think I'm in on Kyle Pitts this year.
Okay.
Because I'm buying into Kyle. It's not a schedule that scares you. And I'm a believer in Kirk Cousins as a quarterback, certainly in terms of being able to support fantasy-relevant players.
Yep. He's an interesting one because I think everyone is going to be in on Kyle Pitts just because all the factors line up. Obviously, the guy went 4 in the draft very recently, has shown flashes, and now he gets by far the best quarterback situation of his life, and big name. And
1,000 yards as a rookie.
Yeah, exactly.
Kyle Pitts had 1,000 yards as a rookie.
So there is all of that. And, I mean, he does, if you told me Kyle Pitts ends as a top 2 tight ends, that's not surprising at all, really. And I think... he's got more upside than guys like Evan Ingram, certainly, I think. But also, I think someone like Jake Ferguson might have a higher floor than Kyle Pitts just because Ferguson is so kind of rock solid and locked into that offense.
There's more variance in Kyle Pitts for sure. But I don't know. If Kyle Pitts were coming out today in the NFL draft, where would he have gone?
Bowers would have gone ahead of him. I'll say that. I think that needs to be distinguished. But, he would probably still be looked at as a back end of the first round talent. You just can't teach that kind of athleticism and size and raw ability. And he was highly productive as a rookie, as you said. That's what we quickly forget.
Yeah.
So it is really tricky. And it kind of brings me to the next point, the guys behind him.
Kyle Pitts is one of those guys that, could once again be but he'll be a value this year because there's so many people that have been burned by him year after year. But Kyle Pitts also could be a league winner.
Sure.
Number 1 tight end fantasy is not out of the realm because of Cousins and Pitts'. I'm not saying I predict it, but I'm just saying that's not a crazy statement either. He's given his potential ability and a good quarterback, and honestly, there's not a ton of target competition outside of Drake London.
Yep.
We like Darnell Mooney or whatever, but come on, let's get real.
Sorry, Darnell Mooney.
Whatever.
Check downs to Bijan Robinson.
Yeah, but Kyle Pitts is probably going to be the number 2 option in that passing game, a passing game that we think is going to be pretty good.
Yep. I do think there is immense upside there because you kind of sit back and you picture what an Atlanta Falcons game is going to look like, and you picture Kirk Cousins dropping back. Well, it's really just Drake London or Kyle Pitts that he's going to be throwing to, right? So, I mean, there is immense upside there.
All right, number 9, Jake Ferguson. Jay, you brought him up briefly. Matthew, with Ferguson, I mean, he just benefits from the red zone looks he gets, and it kind of goes back to our original conversation today, with CeeDee Lamb being the number 1 wide receiver. No other pass catchers really in this offense, and that's helped Ferguson right away.
Yeah, I mean, they have Brandon Cooks.
He's fine.
He's fine. He had some nice moments last year, but Ferguson really came out. Last year, only one tight end had more end zone targets than Jake Ferguson, right? He led all tight ends in red zone targets. So, I mean, when they get in close, when they're inside the 20, and especially when they're within scoring position, Dak Prescott is looking for Jake Ferguson as well. You think about the last time we saw him, that playoff loss to Green Bay, 10 for 93, 3 touchdowns for Jake Ferguson. He was just an absolute beast as well. You see there, like, more red zone targets than Travis Kelce or David Njoku. I think it's going to be a pass-first offense with a good quarterback and not a lot of target competition. Ferguson, my tight end 9.
Let's look at rankings 11 through 20, which starts with Dallas Goedert, followed by T.J. Hockenson coming back from season-ending injury. 13, Dalton Schultz. 14, the rookie Brock Bowers. 15, Cole Kmet. 16, Pat Freiermuth. 17, Juwan Johnson. You like Juwan Johnson, huh?
Well, I don't think you remember. Don't you remember stupid Dev trying to screw me out of the tight ends in the finals?
And he did technically literally win you the league.
And Juwan Johnson had the greatest game of his life. I knew he would. I predicted he would. So Juwan Johnson always drinks free at the happy hour. Juwan Johnson, when he gets it, listen, when Juwan Johnson gets work, he produces 5 targets last year. In games in which he saw at least 5 targets, he averaged over 13 fantasy points per game. You know, so Juwan Johnson, we love Juwan Johnson. TikTok star Juwan Johnson.
18, Hunter Henry. 19, K. Dotton. 20, Noah Fant. I mean, the guy we have to talk about on this list is T.J. Hockenson.
Sure.
Because he comes in at number 12 strictly because of injury, Matthew, and just a variable of when the hell is he going to be back.
Yeah, this is a ranking that's going to change significantly as we get closer to the season and we get a better sense of the timeline on Hockenson. Could he begin the season on the physically unable to perform list? Certainly makes sense. A typical ACL injury, and everyone's different, but a typical one is usually 9 to 11 months. He injured it in week 16. He had surgery on January 29th. So just sort of, you start doing math at the calendar and sort of looking, and you're like, probably mid-season, and whatever game he comes back, you're not using him. You're like, I want to see him.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, you want to see him. Well, also, there's questions at quarterback. Like, we think McCarthy and Darnold will be okay, but, like, you sort of want to see what this offense looks like. You want to see who's going to be the quarterback. What do they look like? And when do we know Hawkinson's coming back? So he's outside the top 10 because if you had to draft today, you can't feel confident about Hockenson as your number 1 tight end because we just don't know how many games he's going to play.
Yep.
If he were 100% healthy, he's a top 3 guy.
Like 5, yeah, 4.
Yeah, he's a top 3 guy. He's
probably 3 because he's above Trey McBride, right?
Yeah, I mean,
it's close.
It's close. It's close with the quarterback, yeah, but he's top 5. He's definitely top 5. Hockenson would be, you know, and yeah. So I mean, I think he's at 12 because of all the question marks.
Yep. Connor, on Matthew's best friend Juwan Johnson, what's this guy's talent level? Because 2 years ago he's like this touchdown merchant who every week would be set on DraftKings, like 24.5 receiving yards. Then he played this game that won Matthew his championship against the Bucs in week 17, which cost me a lot of money. I was on the Bucs that day. But that day, he looked like Antonio Gates. He's making these insane plays.
He's an athlete.
He knew
he's
what
a converted wide receiver.
He understood the assignment.
He understood the assignment.
He understood the assignment. I got it. You know, live at noon on the cock is desperate for me to bring home the title, and he did. Juwan Johnson showed up.
Yeah.
And keep
like
in mind
real champions.
how little activity this team made at pass catcher in the offseason as well.
Yeah.
That aids him. That aids players like him.
It certainly
and
does.
a summer of me talking about Rashid Shaheed all over again.
Yeah.
So.
No Michael Thomas.
Yes.
My man.
He's out there.
So he's still unsigned, right?
Yeah, we're actually going to transition to some of the guys that have signed, and
There you
he's
go.
somehow still out there when
there.
you hear these names.
Somehow.
Come to my New York Giants. I'll buy a Michael Thomas jersey. I'll do it.
Get the Spider-Man one.
You watch me.
Yeah.
Hey, it's Matthew Berry from NBCSports.com and RotorWorld.com, and I want to thank you so much for watching whatever it is you just watched, or if nothing else, being too lazy to click out of the autoplay after this video started, after whatever it is you actually wanted to watch finished. But now that you're here, I'd like to take a moment here to ask you respectfully now, okay? I'm asking you respectfully to subscribe to the NFL on NBC YouTube channel. You'll get the latest Roto-World fantasy news headlines, all sorts of great shows, including my own Fantasy Football Happy Hour. So go subscribe now. Again, I'm asking respectfully.